All right, we are live. Hi, Dr. Rena.
Hi, Sandra.
Hi. Thank you so much. أول شيء كيفك thank you so much for giving us the time tonight. So
Always a
first of all,
pleasure.
how are you? How are things? How's life treating you?
Good, cold. -2 هلا هون كده عم قول لي.
احنا
بس الحمد
نتجه
لله all good.
على الميدل ايست على الميدل ايست ويوروب هلا موجات الشغل.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
big thank you for كنا عم نحكي يعني before we started. You're one of the therapists that we have an honor and a pleasure to work with.
Thank you.
Not because of your expertise يعني الexpertise already هيك ما فينا نحكي عنها قد ما يعني you're known in the field you deep dive into خصوص الاشياء يلي نحن بتهمنا التروما couples individuals. This is your specialty. But we want to what is really standing out is your big heart to genuine character. We see this not only with us and through our sessions يعني حتى when we follow you on social on your accounts this is very apparent. So big thank you for staying هيك as genuine as one can be to the external world always taking with us the tough topics يلي هيك they really we need to build a trust relationship مع الaudience تبعنا to be able to talk about them. So
Thank you,
اليوم
Sandra.
thank you for giving back to the Sira community. We have a lot of attendees tonight. We had special requests from people asking us to stay in the round table يلي هي مسجلة and people can ask anonymously and يعني take all the questions here and keep the privacy of people لأنه it's a very sensitive topic. We'll deep dive into that with you in a minute. حابين قبل ما نبلش يعني في كتير ناس اليوم joining دكتور رنا ما بتعرفي. So if you can brief us a little bit about your journey هيك why the interest in therapy وتنرجع نحكي شوي عن موضوعنا ونبلش ناخد أسئلة من العالم.
Sure. So I'm a psychologist currently in Australia for the last 7-8 years. And my specialty is trauma therapy. So I work with individuals and couples لأنه نعرف نحن إنه trauma goes beyond the person and impacts the whole family. So بشتغل مع couples and individuals, but mainly I teach at the University of Canberra. I'm a senior lecturer and a PhD supervisor بالجامعة بكامبرا. And it's funny, I always tell people trauma fascinates me and they're shocked, sure you're fascinated by trauma. But it fascinates me لأنه it's such a tricky topic. It's so important to delve into. And it covers a lot of aspects, مثلا harassment and sexual abuse and all of that. So I'm really looking forward to talk about this.
Great. نحن we invite people to interact with us through the app. You can ask your questions in the Q&A and please ask your questions anonymously. عندكم option to ask anonymously so that your name doesn't show up in the recording. The session is recorded. It will be on YouTube as well as on the app so you can watch a replay. دكتور رنا عنا كتير أسئلة in preparation for the session we had people engagement from our audience asking can they really heal from harassment or sexual abuse. Some people reached out and asked us how do they recognize signs in their kids. Some also shared their personal stories telling us that they were young when they were abused and their parents didn't acknowledge it لأنه أنت بالتايتل حاطة acknowledging and recognizing. How important is acknowledging any kind of harassment? So these questions are already asked. People are asking also if therapy is needed ولا لا or healing can happen alone. كمان would you مثل ما قلتي it doesn't impact only the person, the people around or the supporting environment. How can the environment help the person who's going through harassment, who has been through harassment? And we got a lot of feedback from people who also get harassed in the office. And
Yes.
today بعرف إذا عندك إيه يعني we'd like it's not clear that it's it's rape, or it's not clear that it's really crossing the line,
Yeah.
when do they know that lines were crossed, and how should they act, especially if their career is in danger? So we have a lot of questions. We're keen
So
for you
bas-
to
I just want to say something, Sandra. No, I'll be talking about a lot of different topics.
Yeah.
I might not mention certain things, but I want you to actually ask
Yeah.
me so I can come back to it. يعني مثلا child abuse or child sexual harassment. I'm not talking a lot about it Bill presentation, but I would love to talk about it further. As once we're done with that, to focus on child sexual abuse and harassment, because that's way different from adult sexual harassment and how it goes. But I'm happy to talk about it.
Sure.
If you want to, at the end of so when I finish this presentation, then we delve into communication about this. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds
We
good?
have an half. Yalla, go ahead and
Okay.
start taking questions. Thank you.
Yeah,
so
let's start. Okay, I'm gonna actually share a presentation. I love presentation, and they work really well with me. So I'm gonna share a presentation and take you all through it. Please, Sandra, إذا في أي سؤال أنا ماني شايفته.
and I'll questions. Great. Thanks.
Perfect. Okay. So خلينا نبلش عن جد to actually define شو هو sexual harassment. Okay. أنا لما بحكي عن sexual harassment, when I mention sexual harassment, I'm talking about any unwelcome sexual advance, any unwelcome request for sexual favor, sexual or misconduct of sexual nature, or any conduct of sexual nature that either makes you feel offended, humiliated, intimidated. Okay, so all of these elements constitute sexual harassment. وممكن يكون verbal, وممكن يكون physical, وممكن يكون visual. So أنا لما بحكي عن verbal harassment عم بحكي عن comments that are made that are inappropriate. عم بحكي عن jokes that are of sexual nature. عم بحكي of any kind of catcalling is considered verbal harassment. أنا ماشي على الطريق عم بسمع someone, even if they think it's I don't know, a positive comment, it's not, it's verbal harassment. بينما لما نحكي عن physical harassment نحن عم نحكي عن unwanted touch, عم نحكي عن groping, عم نحكي عن anything where the person feels uncomfortable when it comes to being physically close to that other person. Visual harassment could be staring, could be leering, could be even displaying sexually explicit images. أنا عم فرجي شخص and sexually explicit image وهذا الشخص ما طلب يشوفها. This is visual harassment. Okay. كمان even further when it comes to verbal harassment, could be something that you can say about someone's body. Okay, this could be considered sexual harassment. Okay, so now I need to be very mindful of where I'm hearing something inappropriate that makes me feel uncomfortable, that makes me feel intimidated, that makes me feel إنه هذا الشخص عم يتعدى على a personal space. I did not say that they can do that. Okay, this is not all right. Visual harassment كمان if أنا مثلا I show someone pornographic images, okay, or share pornographic, this is also visual harassment. هلا شو الفرق بين sexual assault و sexual harassment? Okay, sexual assault involves touching. Sexual harassment is the general term. So sexual assault goes under sexual harassment. Okay, sexual harassment does not have to be around touch. Sexual assault is touch. Okay, لما أنا أقول touch, it's touch and beyond. So anything that has to do with forcing another person against their will to do any sexual activity that they don't want to go into. Okay, whether it's actual sexual in nature in terms of penetration, or even just touching that person private parts, okay, touching that person genitalia, forcing another person to even see an actual sexual relation. This is also considered sexual assault. Okay. So if, for example, forcing someone to see someone masturbate, this is sexual assault. Okay. So even if they didn't touch us, the fact that there's touching involved, this is considered sexual assault. Okay. Rape is the most serious form of sexual assault. When it comes to children, the words used are more around sexual abuse. فنحن عم نحكي عن أولاد نسمع كتير the term sexual abuse أكتر من sexual assault. Okay, it's more common. بيعنوا نفس الشيء بس that's just different terms used around different people. Okay. هلا it's funny لأنه بس سمعت بآخر قصة صارت بإيطاليا, and this is what makes interesting how people perceive
less than
هالelement.
less than seconds معينة.
10 seconds.
10 seconds.
You have up to 10 seconds to touch someone inappropriately, to grope someone. If it's less than 10 seconds, then that's fine. It's okay. According to a judge. نحن عم نحكي طبعا مش اللوز. بس هيدا الجudge. So الكيس اللي ما بيعرفوا. بنوت عمرها 17 سنة بالمدرسة unfortunately was groped by a teacher from the behind inside actually her clothes. يعني مش حتى على, which is still inappropriate, but like really inappropriately. وطبعا رجع بلا أول ما طلعت فيه قال I'm just joking, and while he was actually apprimanded in the court of law, the judge نفسه قال له okay, you can go ما صار شيء لأن it was less than 10 seconds, which is it's so no, even at any moment in time, the less than a millisecond, you feel being touched or you feel being just uncomfortable around a certain person because of whatever sexual nature of their talk, the way they're looking, the way they're touching. This is assault. Okay, this is not okay. This is inappropriate. هلا بلبنان there is a law called the 205 قانون ال 205 يلي هو ما صار له كم سنة بس تخيلوا just a couple of years that صار عنا actual sexual harassment law where actual sexual harassment يعتبر جريمة. okay وبالتالي كل الأشخاص بيشتغلوا بلبنان employees بيقدروا إنه يقدموا شكوى تجاه هذا الشيء. So and it does punish offenders. وده higher البوزيشن تبع الشخص إذا كان بشركة معينة ضمن الشركة the higher أو the harsher the punishment. وطبعا as a victim is a minor هذا الشيء صار بأماكن معينة or has special needs كمان the penalty is heavier. المشكلة بلبنان إنه ما عنا while this law is great بس ما عنا actual anything that really addresses sexual harassment. Okay, ما بيحكوا عن prevention, ما في labor law reforms, ما في monitoring, ما في remedies كيف فينا نتعامل مع هذا الموضوع. في حال صار هالشيء اوكي حسبنا المشكلة شو عم نعمل مع الشخص اللي للأسف تعرض لهالشيء. So there's a lot that we need to work on. Okay. So هيدا الخريطة إذا بتشوفوها بتفرجي إنه لبنان is not part of the places that have a law that prohibit sexual harassment. لأنه هيدا الخريطة من 2017 سو قديمة بس تخيلوا بال 2020 لطلع هالله يعني عم نحكي 3 سنين تقريبا. So it's بس إنه at least now we have something. So this is the in general the difference between sexual harassment, sexual assault وشو هو sexual harassment. هلا أهم شيء لأن احنا نقدر عن جد to combat sexual harassment is to be able to recognize it when it happens, which is a huge challenge لأنه للأسف معظم الوقت الأشخاص اللي بيتعرضونا بيستعملوا tactics, بيستعملوا ways to either manipulate أو to intimidate. فبالتالي نحن نوقع ب power dynamics when it comes to هذا sexual harassment ما بنكون واعيين فيها شو لازم نعمل. هل يا ترى I am at fault أو can I actually do something about this? So نحن لما we understand that one, it can happen to anyone. Two, you are never at fault. As the person who is being harassed, it's never, ever, ever your fault. حتى لو سمحتوا له للشخص الآخر إنه أمرال ينكت معكم نكت inappropriate. حتى لو سمحتوا له للشخص الآخر ضمن الشغل إنه أنتوا you feel إنه as friends that's all right, which is fine as long as you're okay with it. حتى لو سمحتوا له للشخص الآخر ما بعرف يتغزل معكم. Okay, these are not reason for them to assault and go as if nothing has happened. بيستعملون هالتكنيك ولو ما أنت سمحتي لي أتغزل فيك أو أنت سمحت لي، لأنه it happens to both gender. Yes, it's more common for women to be sexually assaulted, unfortunately, but it happens. There's also a lot of instances where men are sexually assaulted. Well, I have to say, when men are even less likely to report sexual assault, لأنه there's more taboo around a man being sexually assaulted. Okay, لأنه it's not that common. ولو جوليته كيف سمح لهالشي يصير، بس it happens. Another thing that they can use كمان كتير بيستعملوا their position بالشركات مثلا, if it's a boss or if they are within the HR team or they have any form of power, quote unquote power, they can use this. Okay, they can alienate you from your family members بأشياء كتير بسيطة, مثل إنه لما they use terms such as no one will believe you. Okay, they will shame you. You are to be blamed. بالنهاية أنت حطيت حالك بهالموقف. Okay, all of these terms and more can be used by the assailant. Okay, unfortunately, لحتى يمنع هول الأشخاص to report أو حتى to make them question themselves. Okay. So being aware of these tactics and understanding you are not to be blamed. You are never to be blamed. You are never at fault. Even if you allow some form of connection with that person. لأنه one thing we know, Kamena, they use that as an excuse, the fawning. Okay, sometimes people feel like connected to that individual and they use that against you. Okay, so once you are able to actually understand what sexual assault is, you're able to understand that you can actually report any form of sexual assault. تعرف يكون أكتر to respond to sexual harassment. وهنا أنا بطلب من حيالله شخص okay سمع من أي victim of sexual assault إنه هن تعرضوا لأي شيء to acknowledge that. Okay, not to shame, not to embarrass, not to make them feel powerless. Okay, acknowledge this experience has happened. They made me feel invalidated. They made me feel yuck. They made me feel angry. They made me feel whatever the feeling is. Okay, you have the right to have those feelings. You have the right to talk about it. You have the right to report it. Okay, so Anna myself, I'm able to believe and support the victim. This is one way of preventing harassment. And this is extremely important. لأنه أنا ساعتها I can stand up against it. I can do something about it. I can change policies. I can put people in prison. I can report stuff. The victim on their own, yes, they can do it, but they need someone to know that they're believing them, they're supporting them. Okay, so when you hear of any form of sexual harassment, it is going to be very hard for you to know how to respond. It is. Sorry, this happened to you. and so. But what they want to hear more than anything is that you believe them, is that you acknowledge that it happened to them, and that you believe them, and that you're going to actually take serious steps around it. خاصة هون حنفوت شوي نحكي عن الأهل. ساندرا مع الولاد. At any stage لما الطفل بيجي بيقولكم إنه هو تعرض لأي شيء، للمسة، لكلمة زعجته، okay, that is not appropriate. هيدا الطفل بحاجة يعرف إنه أنتوا داعمينه، إنه أنتوا أخدين صفه. هتيكم example كتير بسيط صار مع بنتي. And it's funny لأنه عن جد the reaction was very interesting. So بنتي بتلعب سبورتس بأستراليا معروفة اسمها أوستاج، اللي هو مثل الرugby بس it doesn't have the tackle that rugby has. Anyway, so she plays with the girl teams, but they sometimes compete with girls and boys. So in other teams with girls and boys. وهي she was tackling one of the boys in another team. تعرض لها بكلمة كتير بشعة. So هذا الطفل، هي بنت عمرها 9 سنين، هذا الطفل عمره 12 سنة. وقال لها كلمة كتير inappropriate. So طبعا بنوتة اجت وقالت لي، وقلت لها okay, we're gonna do something about it. We're gonna actually report to the OSTAG community إنه هذا الشيء is not appropriate، إنه في شاب ذكر هالكلمة and this is not okay for whatever reasons. It might, some people might consider it سخيف إنه ولا أولاد بين بعضهم عم بيلعبوا تركيا تقطع. But this is a way to prevent it for the future. لا يعرف الولد إنه this is not okay. It's not okay for anyone to call you anything. Okay, it's not okay لا يتوجهوا لكم بأي كلمة that is inappropriate. وإنه أنتوا كأهل، أنتوا كعائلة، كأصدقاء، كcolleagues، كcoworkers، أنتوا موجودين لتدعموهم. أول شغلة قالت لي إياها بنتي لما قلت لها أنا I'm gonna put this forward، قالت لي طب بركي ما صدقوني، بركي لأنه هو أكبر قالوا له ما صدقوني اللي قالوا صدقوا له إنه هو ما قال مثلا هالكلمة. أول كلمة قلت لها إياها، قلت لها أنت مصدقة حالك إنه هو قال يس. قلت لها ده أنا مصدقتك and that's all what matters. This is how we open conversation with our kids بالأشياء اللي بتتعلق بالsexual harassment, sexual abuse, to be able to prevent it on the long term. وهون حقول شغلة شوي مزعجة. للأسف أنا I cannot 100% prevent sexual abuse. Okay, أنا ما فيي أضمن رغم كل الخطوات اللي أنا فيي أعملها إنه أنا I'm gonna prevent 100% sexual abuse. Unfortunately, I cannot do that. But what I can do is prepare myself as an individual, as an adult, prepare the young people in my life. لا يعرفوا إنه one, it's not their fault. At any point in time, they can come and talk to me about it. At any point in time, I am allowed to go and talk to the other people about it. I am allowed to report it if it happens to me. ونفس الوقت if it happens to a child, whether I'm their teacher, whether I'm their parent, or any kind of carer, I need to be there to support them and to acknowledge, yes, it happened. And I'm going to take the step to support you through this. Yes, Sandra.
دكتور رنا، صار عنا أسئلة إذا بدك ناخد كم سؤال.
Yes. يلا.
All right. So I was at the parking 10 years ago, and the worker touched my breast when I was getting out of my car. I couldn't do anything, felt paralyzed, and I can't forget this incident.
Yeah.
طب هون بكيسز هيك دكتور should the person report؟ يعني أول دايما بنشوفها هيك مثل typical behavior إنه somebody gets paralyzed، مثل ما قلت إذا منا محضرين and we haven't played the scenario in our head، وإذا حدا يمكن young بركي inexperienced is the first time this happens. should this person then come and report? What would you advise? وهالincident إذا ما عم بيروح من تفكير هالشخص هل يعني what can we do؟
So هحكي عن الريبورتينج in a bit. So فينا بس جاوب على هذا السؤال later on. But in terms of what we can do, therapy. Therapy. Please, you can't imagine how important therapy is بهذا الناحية. لأنه, okay, so let me explain something when it comes to trauma. Traumatic events are wide and different in nature, but also different in what they are in terms of traumas. What are they? Am I talking about a natural disaster? Am I talking about rape? Well, am I talking about something else that some people might consider بسيطة بتصير? And unfortunately, these incidents, a lot of people ممكن يحولوها لا بسيطة بتصير أو بالغلط.
Hey, ما بدها
الآد. بس لا, to you, it was a very inappropriate thing, and it made you feel vulnerable, it made you feel angry, it made you feel disgusted, whatever it made you feel. I don't know exactly what you're going through. But you have the right to have those feelings, and you have the right to be upset about it, okay? So first of all, بس بدي أقول لهالشخص إنه ما تخلوا أي حدا to minimize the impact of that incident. لأنه even if to them it's معلش بتصير, no, to you it's not معلش بتصير, and you need to actually seek support. Let's to give something similar. So a couple of years ago, and one of the units I teach at the university is around trauma counseling and working with clients that have traumatic experiences. فبأول الكورس أول اليونت كنا قاعدين عم نحكي عن the different traumatic experiences اللي هن counselors have gone through. وواحدة من الصبايا شاركت إنه كانت مرة بباص وكان it was very busy and she was touched inappropriately by someone. And till this day, it's been many years after, she still feels upset about it. وبالتالي ما بتطلع على public transport. That إذا كان الباص كتير عجقة, she would wait for another bus to come before she goes in. So هي عم تخبر قصتها. واحدة من البنات اللي معنا بالصف ضحكت. Okay, she started laughing. بعدين لاحظت حالها and she apologized. هلا ليه كنت عم تضحك؟ لأنه this person is from India وقالت نحن عنا بالهند it's just a common thing. You know, no, if you're gonna use the bus, you're gonna be groped. It just happened. And how sad it is that this is such a common thing. And but it also shows you, عن جد, traumatic experiences are very subjective. So no one is allowed to minimize your experience. No one is allowed to tell you what you have gone through is not assault.
هنا يمكن دكتور رنا, the issue is not the act itself, it's feeling powerless maybe in this 100%. Moment. Powerless not just vis-a-vis what happened, it's powerless also in the reaction.
Yes.
Being paralyzed, maybe yes. After you feel maybe guilty and you didn't do anything or
But don't, this is so what the traumatic response that she has is what we call a freeze response. Okay, and it's very common in a traumatic incident. So some people fight, some people flee, they run away, and some people freeze, and it's very common. لأنه يعني what could you do? Okay, and please, and this is to all people who are victim of sexual abuse or assault. Okay, so it's very common, Sandra, بسمعيها كتير من أشخاص إنه I could have pushed him away so that I don't get raped. I could have run away yes. so that I'm not abused or assaulted or raped. I could have done this and that. No, because your body did not allow you to. Okay, your body did not allow you to. So no, never blame yourself for not being able to fight back. Okay, it's just, yeah.
All right. So Anna case, we have another question. I was a child when a family member, teenager, started touching me inappropriately. I knew it was wrong and I tried saying no, but I didn't know how wrong it was. And the more it happened, the more it felt enjoyable. So sometimes I didn't mind it. This lasted for a couple of years until it stopped. Hi,
Yeah,
part one. Part
yeah,
two, but now I feel super guilty and disgusted, and I have nightmares about it and
yeah.
feel super uncomfortable when around men. And I feel like it is my fault because I thought I didn't want it. It did feel good, and I don't know if you can say I was sexually abused.
Yeah, okay, sorry to put it out there, but I'm gonna say it. You were, okay, you were a child, okay? And feeling sexual arousal during rape does not mean you wanted the rape to happen. It's just a biological mechanism, okay, that just takes place. Okay, it's just your body that's reacting to the incident, okay, or to the abuse. It doesn't mean that you actually wanted it. So please, please, please don't blame yourself for those feelings. Or they're not even feelings, they're biological reactions that نسميهم. So don't blame yourself for that, okay? Don't ever. And second of all, like I said, you were a child. They were a child too. Yeah, حتى as a teenager. I'm not excusing what they have done, okay? But I'm just saying that maybe هن كمان they didn't understand the or maybe they did, I don't know. But you were a child, and at any age, even as a 12, 13, 14, 15 year old teenager who would be assaulted by an older person, this is still called assault. Okay, even if they wanted it. Okay, نسمع كثير قصص عن ما بعرف استاذ مع بنت او معلمه مع ولد عمره 15 سنه and they think they've conquered the world by being with an older person. This is assault. Okay, this is abuse, this is rape, this is not okay. All right, and I'm sorry that you have gone through this, but please seek help. لأنه and you said it is not, it's still impacting you, and it might impact you later on in your relationships in the future. I don't know if you're married. I don't know how old you are now. I don't know if you have a boyfriend or whatever, and I'm assuming it's a girl. But please do seek help.
يمكن هون كمان دكتور رنا maybe we should mention إنه there were studies that were done not very long ago اكتشفوا إنه حتى بال biology بالsexual biology of women. I think it was Emily Nagoski. She wrote a book about it. It was a big discovery إنه with women contrary to men, يعني بعكس الرجال, women the brain and the sexual organs ما عندهم مش ضروري يكونوا connected for them to be aroused. So مثل ما كنت بتقولي إنه اليوم if physically or because there's biologically it was enjoyable, it doesn't mean the brain was enjoying or إيه يعني يكون فيها ال disconnect أو the brain was not aware, which is the case maybe when you're young. So
and because socially we're told that any form of sexual act that you feel aroused into, that means you're enjoying it. That's what we've been told. So حتى in a married couple relationship, when you don't want to have a sexual relationship with your partner for whatever reason, and then you're forced into it and you get aroused, you're like, oh, maybe I am enjoying it. No, getting aroused does not necessarily mean that you're actually enjoying or that you even want the experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anna بعد testimonial. I was sexually abused when I was 13 by a 16-year-old guy. It was a manipulation. It went on for a while. It took me about 2 years to figure out that it was an assault. I'm 20 now. It took me this long to feel like I'm okay. I thought, though I don't feel aroused by men anymore, I don't know if this is a trauma response or just who I am.
Yeah, so it could be a trauma response. Okay, it definitely could be a trauma. I cannot say 100% it is a trauma response. The only way to find out that out is through therapy and more somatic work. But you should be very proud of yourself that you're feeling okay. You might think, no, in a year it took a long time, but that's actually a nice progress. So I'm happy to hear that you're feeling okay. But please do seek more help around that.
قد ايه هون دكتور رنا قبل ما ننقل على غير type of questions كمان يلي هن أكتر related to work. We have 2 more testimonials. How يعني مظبوطة إنه the body keeps the score. يعني is it
Yeah.
really leave an impact واحد على such an experience? Does it
Yeah.
leave an impact on your body, on your view of yourself, on your also attraction to other to partners?
100%.
Sex?
So a lot of the clients that I see nowadays, so I see 2 types of clients. I have clients in land because they're aware of their sexual abuse, or they're aware of there's the sexual harassment that has happened to them as a child. وبالتالي عارفين إن هذا الشيء عم بيأثر على their هلا future life or present life as adults, and therefore connecting and making and having relationship and all of this. ياما بيجيني people who are suffering because هلا they're not able to connect and have connection with their husband, and they have a lot of question mark around this. And then we go back and we realize that there's been some form of sexual assault or sexual abuse that's impacting them at the moment. So yes, unfortunately, definitely the body keeps the score. And even as very young children, I'm like a couple of years old, and even less, their body is aware of what has been going, even though later on in their childhood and adulthood, they might not be aware of what has happened, but their body is. So whenever they are in a situation where they are triggered again, because of what happened to them in their childhood, unfortunately, they either freeze, they panic, they fight, or they flee. And this is why you hear a lot of people saying, مثلا, something as simple as, whenever it gets serious, I can't. Or whenever we get to the point where there's actual sexual chemistry or any sort of, I just end the relationship.
نحن اليوم أول شيء بنحب نقول يعني big thank you للناس who are trusting us with these testimonials tonight. It's not easy to write يعني what you've been through. It's not easy to share. We love that they're taking the first step at least to talk about it. ومثل ما قلت أنا هيك to tell them that no, they can heal from it and they should get help. يعني for a better quality of life and يعني help in any way possible. نحن حتى على سيرة إذا ما في إمكانيات to see a therapist on سيرة they can see a psychologist every day. عنا حدا خصه يعني either a psychologist, sexual health educator. So we have help that's free that can at least guide people where to go, kind of counseling. We also can يعني work together on helping people يلي كمان they are struggling financially. بنشوف طريقة. المهم إنه read get help and يعني أنت عم ترجعي تعيديها وأنا بحب أرجع عيدها وراكي كمان إنه healing is possible. مظبوط يعني.
Yes, and
you've seen it in your work. You've seen it with people you've worked with.
100%. But now we have to acknowledge, it takes time. So a lot of people come in and go to therapy thinking, okay, and if I take a couple of sessions or over a year time, and I should be healed. ما فينا نحط a timeline for the healing, okay? And this is important. And if you are still in the process of healing, you can be in the process of healing and have a healthy relationship. You can be in the process of healing and have a family. You can be in the process of healing and do whatever you want to do in your life. So it's not about being healed, okay? The key is not being healed, it's being in the process of healing. I know it could take years. It could be something simple and quick and an quote unquote easy fix, but it could take years. And sometimes even after healing, and this is extremely important to understand, even if I am healed, it does not mean that I might not get triggered again.
Absolutely.
Okay, I could be healed, but still be triggered. But the thing is that when I'm triggered, if I'm healed, I know how to deal with it. When I'm triggered after I'm healed, I understand what has happened. I know how to work with it. I can still go back to my therapist and say, listen, I've been triggered and what can I do? But also I can work with it on my own if I want to. That's the difference.
alright عنا أسئلة pertaining to work إذا بدك بنكفي شوي وبنرجع لهم.
Yes, حنرجع نحكي عنه.
إيه قبل ما تقطعي بس على هيدي السلايد it's never your fault. مرات كتير المجتمع بيلوم خصوصي بالمجتمعات الشرقية women who dress up in a certain way and something happens she asked for it or acts in a certain way she's always smiley she's welcoming she's wearing something suggestive she asked for it.
She asked for it, yeah.
هون ما رح نصلح المجتمع وما رح إيه بس what do you say to the person who lives with this guilt?
To actually just keep reminding themselves that it is never their fault. Okay, sorry, I'm gonna be that implicit. حتى لو أنا, okay, فتحت الباب, okay, I was completely naked and walked into that person, okay, and that person touched me, and then I said, no, I don't want anything more. That person is not allowed to do anything more. The moment أنا بقول لا, okay, not even verbally necessarily. This is the thing. Consent doesn't have to be verbal consent. It could be physical consent. Okay, or I retired back, or I moved away, or whatever I've done to show that person, I don't want this anymore. خلاص. Anything that happens beyond that moment is considered sexual assault. So even if I wanted it at the start, even if I ask for it, even if I invited them over to my house, okay, and did everything to show that I want to be with that person. The moment I change, I am allowed to change my mind. And هون بيجي على الأهل كمان بشغلة. And this is extremely important. I always tell my child, you are allowed to change your mind بأي شيء. قلتي لي بدك هالأكلة، أنا عملت لك إياها، اللحظة اللي حطيتها قدامك قلتي لي ما بدي إياها للأكلة. That's fine. You're allowed to change your mind. Unfortunately, this is the only thing that we have available at the moment. But you're allowed to say, I don't want anymore. Okay, so حتى هيدا الشيء أنا أسمح للشخص الآخر. إيه إنه هو يغير رأيه. It's telling them إنه in the future, in case you are in a situation, in a sexual environment, and you say, no, you're allowed to. يعني تخيلوا حتى this tiny behavior impacts prevention of sexual assault in the future.
ولكن الكيسز معنا حتى لو they enjoyed it أنا هيدا if they were children وتحت 18 ومنن واعيين للديناميك اللي عم بتصير وهيك this is certainly not a behavior that is allowed. Certainly.
No, definitely.
How your body reacts.
Definitely, regardless.
You don't react back and say no.
And the assailant will use terminology such as, but you enjoyed it. I can tell. If the boy was the victim, you had an erection, so you enjoyed it. No, this is a biological reaction. Okay, and they use this to actually let you know that you're the one to be blamed. You're guilty for it. So if you're gonna go tell someone else, be careful, because I know that you enjoyed it. This is how they grow shame. This is how they grow this feeling of guilt. And this is why people don't report. This is why people don't talk about it. This is why people don't do anything about it, because they feel, they had a role in it. No, you had zero role in it. None whatsoever. Okay, again, even if you wanted it, and then you said no, that's it, it's done. Even if you were in the process of having a sexual relationship, and then during the sexual relationship, you told that person, please don't do this specific act, and they've done it, that's sexual abuse. That's sexual assault. This is not okay. And to that extent, Sandra, it's very important to understand this. So even when you're actually having the sexual relationship,
أنا عم فكر إنه قد إيه لازم نعلم يعني أولادنا إنه كمان مش بس نحن نتثقف، يلي عنده أولاد هالموضوع قد إيه مهم، قد إيه لازم نحكي بهيك أشياء preventively so that they know, you know, that this is
and
they
this
have
is the
to
thing.
allow
So
it.
I'll give you another example, Sandra. So again, these are stories. No, I have little kids, so these are stories that I hear from my kids as well, and we talk about it all the time. So أنا ولادي بيعرفوا إنه no matter what happens, they can come and talk to me, even if they think, I will be upset. Okay, no, I know in their head they've done something wrong. They can come to me. Yes, I might be upset, but I will never reject them. I will never say no to them in regards to what has happened. I will never not believe them. I will always believe them. Okay, I will never say خلينا نتأكد من يلي صار قبل ما No, I believe you. أنا في أتأكد لحالي, بس I'm not going to tell that person إن أنا بدي أتأكد, right? So I'll give you an example. And kids, that's the thing. With little kids, some of them are aware of certain things, others are not. So that's why we have to نحن نشتغل كل واحد منا to make our kids aware of what's appropriate, what's inappropriate, what's private, what are your sexual, شو هن organs that are private to you, شو هن body parts that are private to you, and to actually name it. There's no shame in saying penis. There's no shame in saying vulva. There's no shame in saying vagina. There's no shame in saying breast. There's no shame in saying أطيب. There's no shame in saying كل هول العبارات بأي لغة اللي كانت. أنا بحاجة أعرف إنه أنا no. I need to be aware that this is all okay. I need to be aware to actually go and talk about it. So I'll give you an example. أنا ابني بالkindergarten. He's only 5 years old. only suddenly امبارح بخبرني and I was really surprised إنه كانوا بالplayground وحدا من رفقاته pull down their pants or took the or ما بعرف شو عمل and showed them their penis. فأنا هون قلت له oh and what did you do? So ردة فعلنا كمان بتلعب, ما صرخت ولا عيطت ولا جعرت. Okay, I was like, I was shocked. I was really shocked. بس حاولت إن ما في إتمالك. أنا what did you do? قال لي I screamed, looked away and said, this is not okay. And I ran. لأنه أنا معلمته إنه this is not okay. Okay, even if they're playing, even if they think it's funny, it's not funny.
Absolutely.
Okay, so teaching them هيدول الأمور. No one is allowed to touch, see, or to make you watch or see their private part, etc., etc. And it's funny لأنه أنا okay with that. So ابني واصل معه لمرحلة إنه بالنسبة له, which is great, and I don't have a problem with it at the moment. And I'll explain why. So هون بأستراليا لأنه شمس كتير قوية بالصيف, معظم الأشخاص when they go to the beach, they wear a top. Okay, they wear a swimming top, the swimming tank. So حتى الرجال معظمهم والصبيان بيلبسوا a swimming tank. You really see anyone not wearing anything. So بالنسبة لابني لما واحد ما يكون if a man is not wearing a shirt, he's naked. فلما كنا بكندا عم نزور family members, بكندا كل العالم, a lot of people, a lot of boys, men, they run on the street in the summer and they're topless. فابني اللي كان بوقتها عمره 5 سنين كل الوقت ماشيين بالشوارع بكندا عم يصرخ this man is naked, this man is. So anyway, I'm saying I'm okay with it. And أنا بفضل إنه هو to be aware إنه yes, even his chest is a private place. No one is allowed to touch it. No one is allowed to do anything, to ask to see it, etc., etc. All of that, unless we're in such a situation and so on and so forth. So that's I wanted to share this because I think it's a funny story about private parts and so on.
Thank you for sharing. رح نكفي شوي معك ونرجع ناخد
Yes.
بعد.
Let's do that. Okay. So again, sexual harassment حكينا عنه شوي بس I'm gonna talk about it in more details. Obviously عنده a lot of effect on the victims. عم نحكي effect from a mental health perspective. So from anxiety, depression, PTSD, حكينا عن الشame والguilt والself-blame كتير, and this is definitely is huge. وإذا بدنا نحكي in the workplace, definitely it can create a toxic environment. يلي هذا الشيء بده يأثر على how we're working, بده يأثر على إذا نحن we want to be there or not, بده يأثر على turnover rates. And obviously sexual harassment also has impact beyond the person, beyond the individual. لأنه it has societal implication, okay? Gender inequality, the harmful power dynamics, and just looking at certain marginalized groups and how they are not able to actually be in the society because of this, okay? So نحن لما عم نحكي عن sexual harassment, it's really important مش بس نحكي عن individual well-being, but also as a whole environment, as a whole society, okay? وإذا بدي أحكي even further in regards to career and employment, and this is very interesting. So the statistics, أكيد هو most of the statistics are from either the state or from Australia. 1 in 4 people who said they were sexually harassed in the workplace in the last 5 years experienced negative impact to their employment or to their career or work as a result of the most recent incident. Okay, so what could those be? للأسف, once some of these sexual harassments are being reported, للأسف هذا الشخص عم يطلب منه إنه ياخد certain strategies تيحمي حاله, بس بهالطريقة للأسف he's limiting opportunities for career growth. يعني مثلا خد sick leave or annual leave to not be around that person. Okay, don't do certain activities or not be in certain places بالمبنى to not be around that person. Okay, خاصة إذا نحن عم نحكي sexual harassment did not go beyond the formal complaint أو إذا صار في a formal complaint وقفت عند formal complaint وما صار في شيء beyond that. لأنه unfortunately أمراض even with a formal complaint and with a reporting in the workplace, for whatever reason, the person is considered not to be guilty of anything, but you're still feeling, you know, this is not okay because you have this behavior did happen and it did make you feel not safe. So you are still in the right to have all those feelings, but unfortunately, it did not take that person away from wherever you are. يمكن للأسف تحسوا إنكم you have to leave your job, you have to change positions, okay? And again, a lot of research عن هالموضوع لاحظ إنه especially for women, less for men, but especially for women, sexual harassment in the workplace can actually damage career success and job satisfaction, which is a shame. And I'm not saying this so that people stop reporting. Okay, no, I don't think that's what should happen. I think لازم يكون في أكتر changes in policies and rules and regulation around sexual assault in the workplace. في كتير, okay, خاصة بالبلدان الأجنبية, less in Lebanon, unfortunately, but they're working on it. But it's still not enough, لأنه it still has impacts on so many things, unfortunately. وهلا بنحكي عن اشياء that we can do.
دكتور هون مرات كمان it's murky, يعني بما انه عم نحكي معودين نحن على السيره عم نحكي الاشياء بكتير صراحه, وهي مرات it's murky انه هي منا harassment بس it's needed for the career plans. ايه, it's inappropriate, ومثل انه بتنحط بطريقه انه اوكي يلي goes along with the game وما بيحكي او كمان gets a bit harassed, بس انه شيء على الخفيف. وتنكيت وتقطع الهيدا انه بيعلى بالكومباني، بتصير الكالتشر بتدفش كلها انه هالكايند اوف behavior is allowed. واذا خصوصي اذا leadership يعني عاده بيكون leadership is this kind of has this problem and it trickles down. So بتشوفي in companies that this is allowed، التنكيت، inappropriate remarks، حتى colleagues having يعني
go at each other.
activities together وبيظهروا سوا وبيظهروا مع بعضهم وهيك. and it goes around وبيكون في مثل انه it pushes the career forward and people get trapped into this game.
You see it a lot in companies خاصة لما يكون معظم الأشخاص are men and then there's few women there and these women feel really kind of, this is not appropriate and okay, انتوا بين بعضكم رجال, you feel that this is okay, but this is that you have to respect إنه نحن هون and this is not okay. وسمعت هنا أمر الرجال unfortunately بيصيروا بينكتوا إنه خلص ما you're one of the boys. No, I don't want to be one of the boys. I don't want to hear these jokes. You have to, if you feel comfortable into around each other to have these jokes, you have to respect it. As soon as you walk in, you need to respect that. But unfortunately, كمان Sandra, that means that yes, the whole الرجال بيصيروا بيحسوا إنه هي إجت. And then this woman feels, okay, I don't want that. I don't want to be excluded. I don't want to feel إنه I'm the outsider, sorry. I want to be on the inside. So خلاص بمرقهم كمان. I'm okay with these jokes. No, but you're not okay with these jokes.
And then we become insensitive عليهم.
Yes, I know.
What do you say to us who are listening, who see this every day, this kind of behavior? إذا مش مع حالنا with other colleagues, حدا عمل gesture أو حكي كلمة أو and we let it pass. What would you say to us?
هلا I'm going to talk about it in a bit. I'm going to talk exactly about this in a bit, Sandra. بس كمان بتقول في شغلة كتير بسيطة عن جد نحن ما بننتبه لها. Okay. تعرفي are you a fan of Friends, the sitcom?
Yes.
تعرفي الحلقة يلي بيكون فيها Chandler بالشغل and his boss slaps him and everyone else on the button? How inappropriate is that? But he also wanted to be part of it وحولوها as a joke, but this is not a joke, right? In this case, they wanted it, whatever. If they're happy with it, that's fine. But this is actually not a joke. Yeah. And it shows you this. I want to be in on this, so I'll let you do it, even though I'm not really comfortable with it. No, this is not how it should be. Okay. So this is a little bit more, this dealing with harassment is in relation to the workplace. Unfortunately, okay, when it comes to dealing with harassment outside the workplace, there's very limited things that you can, well, I'll talk what you can do, but there's limited reporting. So in case of child abuse, you can report it to authority, okay? In case of harassment in the street, you can report it. Unfortunately, there's not much that happens most of the time, okay? Then it ends up being negative, whatever it is. And they always find a way, especially ببلدان العربية or مش sorry I have to say مش ببلدان العربية بلبنان لأن مثلا بدبي ما بيمرقوهم هول الأشياء. I know for a fact إنه it's so safe in Dubai to walk at 10 o'clock at night as a girl on your own because ما بتقطع هالأشياء. The punishment is really harsh. Anyway, so they found a way around it. So I'm gonna really focus هلا بهيدا الشيء just on the workplace, on measures that you can take, okay? So first of all, you really need to understand the rights and options for action that you have when it comes to sexual harassment, okay? The first step is to actually respond to the harassment. And when you want to respond to the harassment, there are 3 stages that you have to go through. أول واحدة هي really understanding what you're going through. شو صار? Okay? And then collect information around actions that you need to take. And what are your options? Okay. So as a بالشغل مفروض يكون في policies and procedures around harassment. It is a must in most I really don't know what's happening, but around the world, this is a must. If there's none, you have to actually ask for one to be there. Okay, and based on that, you know شو هو laws اللي موجودين, and then therefore who should you contact in case this happens. شغلة تانية أساسية, and some people might find it weird, but you actually have to keep record of the incident. What happened exactly? Where did it happen? When did it happen? هل يا ترى كان في any witnesses? Or do you have any text messages, screenshots of something that has been sent to you? Okay. All of these, you have to keep them so that when you actually do a formal complaint, you can provide all of this. It might sound weird, and people are like, seriously, like, I want a record. Yes, you need a record. Then unfortunately, at times, you need to prove that this happened in the workplace setting. Okay. So again, احنا هون عم نحكي عن sexual assault, ما عم نحكي عن rape and so on. No, these have to be actually reported to the police. بس احنا هون عم نحكي عن sexual assault in the workplace. Okay, inappropriate touch or being told inappropriate jokes or words or advancement of any sexual nature. Okay. هلا تاني مرحلة أنا هون I have to choose what kind of action I want to take. Am I gonna have an informal approach towards it? So am I gonna actually go to the person and talk to them? يا إما through a third party. I know a friend that can go and kind of like ask them to stop. Okay, like, this is inappropriate. You shouldn't have talked to her in that way. Okay, or this is inappropriate. You're not allowed to do this. So this is more an informal way of doing it. Okay. And it can be scary and it can be confronting. But no, it does work sometimes. Okay, so if you feel safe to approach that person or to ask someone to approach that person, to ask them to, in a firm manner, to stop whatever they're doing, okay, do that. يعني ما بشكل كتير بسيطة, مثل أنت لما بتطلع فيه بهالطريقة أنا I feel uncomfortable, so I really want you to stop. You've asked me to go out before and I've said no, and I'm not going to change my mind, so I would like you to stop asking me, or I'm going to actually report this. Okay. If you touch me again, I'm actually filing a report. If you talk to me again this way, I'm filing a report. These are all informal ways of actually trying to put a stop to this. Yes, you think it's a joke, and I do have a sense of humor, but what you're saying is not a joke. This is sexual harassment. Call it. Say what it is. Call it out, until you're aware what this is. When you call it out, they get scared. And this is, I'm gonna go back, Kamina, to talk about 20 kids. Okay. And I always tell my child, when you're aware of what is appropriate and not appropriate, and when you tell that person, no, you can't touch my penis, the person who is trying to do that knows into your في actual awareness in the house, knows into as a child, and your children can come to you at any time, في awareness, في open conversation. That scares the person. That scares them, okay, from actually doing anything, because they know the child is going to go and talk to the parents about it and be open and feel safe to talk to the parents about it. So that's a big way to prevent it. The same goes with adult. Anna, when I call it out, this is not okay because this is sexual harassment, I make the other person know, Anna, I'm aware of what's happening here. I don't see it as okay. I know my rights, and I'm gonna do something about it if you don't stop. Okay, so these are the informal way of doing this. Hala, if you've tried all of this and it didn't work, and you still are not feeling safe, you're still not feeling comfortable, then you definitely have to take a more formal approach. And therefore going through the whole reporting. And this is where you will need your evidence. And there will be some investigation that would lead لهول disciplinary measures اللي نحن عم نحكي عنها. okay? But it's your decision at the end of the day إذا بكون تعملوا a formal or an informal complaint. Sorry, or an informal process, and complaint is formal. Okay. And then within the school, tell your kids and they're allowed to go to a safe person and report it. Even if the abuser is a teacher, they can run and tell another teacher or the principal or whomever, someone else that they can actually go to, and then come and tell me. So again, sorry, but Sonia, another incident. مرة بنت سألتني طب لما أنا أكون بالمدرسة ويصير أي شيء, okay, I know I can come to you, بس ما أنت بعيدة. So who do I go to? So أنا قلت لها the person that you feel you can trust, and if that person you feel you can trust was the person who did this misconduct or this inappropriate behavior, you go and you tell another person that you trust, the principal, whomever that you feel comfortable to tell. Whether you feel you can't trust anyone, then you have to come and tell me and I'll do something about it. But no, unfortunately, it could shake the child's trust in any adult outside of the parents.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. So if you choose to report an actual sexual harassment in a more formal way, it's nice to have a support from a coworker. Okay, so do talk to someone about it لحتى هن كمان يكونوا داعمينكم through this. وبعدين have all these documentation اللي حكينا عنهم. Ask about how you're going to be protected. Okay, لأنه you don't want them to retaliate. So I'm reporting this, but I want to know that I am protected at the same time from any retaliation. During the meeting of the reporting, take notes. Who was there? What was decided? In case this also needs to be taken further. Have you been actually punished for reporting it? All of these, then you can actually even take further legal actions. Okay. Some form of sexual harassment have to go beyond just being reported within the workplace. They have to actually be reported with a legal or in the law. Okay, so emergency services, police, etc. Okay, if you have been physically or being threatened to be physically harmed or sexually harmed, or there was stalking, obviously sexual behavior towards a minor, you have to go beyond just reporting the incidents in a workplace. Okay. And then once this happens, once you have reported it, you have to make sure that there are actions being taken. Yes, Sandra, sorry.
Are you changing your slide? لأن إحنا بعدنا dealing with harassment.
Hey, this is still within responding to harassment.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. هلا شغلة كتير أساسية هنا أنا كمان أفهمها. There are مثل ما قلت more indirect ways to deal with this. Okay. So I don't want to talk to them directly. I don't want to report it. So بفكروا إنه I can take certain steps. بركي بيفهم الرسالة and he will stop, or she will stop the harassment, or they will stop the harassment, regardless of what the pronoun used is. One of the ways is to actually, Anna, as a person who is the victim here, to ignore completely. Okay. فكر إنه as Anna, I do not respond. As Anna, I don't react. As Anna, I don't do anything about it. Okay. Then this might stop. And this is something we say to our kids, and it works in the case of being bullied. Okay. So as you are being bullied, a lot of the time, yes, you stop the bully, but a lot of the time you just ignore the bully's behavior and you walk away and they stop. Okay. There's nothing here that's actually making me want to continue. That's unfortunately ignoring the offender in certain cases will not stop the unwanted behavior. حتى for them some of these harassers ممكن إنه يترجموا هالشيء to a challenge. I'm being challenged, they're not responding, so I'm gonna increase the harassment even more so that I could get something in return. Okay, any form of reaction. So it could work, not always. Okay, إن شاء الله تاني اللي بنعمله نحن we try to minimize حدية أو significance تبع behavior. فإذا هن نكتوا أنا منكت معهم.
defense mechanism ما صار شيء، بنصير نحن نقنع حالنا إنه ما صار شيء.
Yes, ما صار شيء أو بنصير منكت إذا إنه خلص stop being silly or يشيل إيدك whatever it is, right? No, we turn it into a joke مع الموضوع أو منسخف من حدية الموضوع وردة فعلنا بتكون كمان إنه كأنه عم نسخف من الموضوع. But again, this will not necessarily stop the harassment. Okay, so if you have tried it because you felt comfortable trying it, but reflect on, is it working? Did they stop? If not, please take it further. Okay, because it could lead to something even worse. These little behaviors that you might consider harmless at the beginning, or you're joking about, and you're in a joke, so that ما تعملوا قصة من الموضوع, might turn into something even further. So please, 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 as a موقفوا, do consider another strategy. بالشغلة الأخيرة هي إنه we try to reduce exposure لهول behavior. يمكن منغير طريقنا، مثلا نقول إذا أنا بمشي بطريقة معينة على الشغل وبعرف إنه في أشخاص هناك are catcalling me every time أنا I pass by، فبغير طريق باخد طريق أكبر أو أطول. أو I change team. Yes, I change team, I change work, I change, you know, so many different things. للولد بغير له المدرسة. Okay, or yes, this again might work. Okay, but first of all, it's not okay for me to change work because of someone else's behavior. Okay, it's not fair. Okay, and you're changing your life or you're changing your ways because of a sexual harassment. It again, it could be a good idea. Okay, if you're okay with it, but then this is something big if you feel like this is not what you really want and it's not really helping. And again, please, please, please talk to people around you when it comes to this. And you can actually sit with them and reflect on ways to deal with this that you haven't thought about. Okay, أنا بدك ناخد أسئلة قبل ما نكمل.
أنا كتير أسئلة وبعد
يلا.
Okay, I was in Beirut a week ago and a guy touched my back and then kept walking, then looked back, laughed and went away in broad daylight, by the way. I didn't say anything because I was like, huh? It wasn't sexual assault, but it wasn't okay at the same time. It's weird. I don't know. I just feel unsafe when alone on the street.
Yeah. أنا من فترة I asked a question, reflected on a reel. حدا كان قايل إذا كل الرجال بالمجتمع تاعكم أو بالعالم بيختفوا, what would you do? And معظم النسوان اللي أنا سألتهم what would you do كانوا عم بيقولوا لي I would walk on my own at 10 in the evening or 3 a.m. in the morning with zero fear. And it's these little things that مثل ما قالت, a touch on the back that would kind of make you feel ليش? This is not okay. It's no, it's not okay.
Invasion.
Yeah. It is an invasion of your private space. It is. Yeah.
I was harassed by my boss, and when I complained to him, he's the head of the company, he told me that he has feelings for me and that I gave him signals that I like him too. I left my job.
Yes, this is the manipulation that we're talking about. This is a form of manipulation. And I'm sorry that you had to leave your job. I know it's a tough decision, but unfortunately in these circumstances, لما خاصة يكون شخص هالقد in a high position, sometimes there's not much we can do about it, unfortunately.
My
And
friend
I feel bad to everyone else who's in that company. And I know it's gonna be repetitive.
My friend at work gets humiliated, and some of our coworkers comment on the way she dresses. She doesn't say anything. Should I talk to someone? I try to talk to her. She doesn't want trouble.
So this is something you can do, and then بس ما تعمليها إنه it's in relation to that person. Okay, so what you can do is actually, if you have, and I hope you do, an HR department, to actually go to them and say that there should be some more awareness around sexual harassment. Okay, and not because of a certain incident, لأن هي ما بدها تكون the light of this whole thing. So just in general, there should be more awareness around sexual harassment and what it is, and that even making these comments, it's considered sexual harassment. So more training and awareness around this, and possibly changing policies and laws within a company around this. So that's something you can do. It's not just pivoted in relation to that specific person, but just to everyone within the company, if that helps.
My coworker jokes a lot about me getting sales deals because I am pretty and insinuates things. I don't know if I should make a deal out of it. I try to make him understand that it bothers me. It didn't stop.
Okay. So making, it depends on what you mean by making a deal. It is, if it's bothering you, yes, you should make a deal with it. Right? If you're okay with it, that's something else. It's up to you. But if it's bothering you, yes, it will impact your performance. It will impact. You might even say, I don't want to do the sale anymore. حتى ما اسمع هالحكي يعني. It might go to that extreme, which definitely you shouldn't take it to that extreme. So no, you have to take it more seriously and kind of say, this is really not okay. And I really don't accept this, and not just say it in a passing way, as something that is like, be more firm when you're talking about it, and see what you can do actually. So again, see what are the policies, see what are the rules, the regulation in your company around sexual harassment. And then actually, if you want to, again, it's up to you, face it. Say that if you don't actually stop this, I'm taking it further. I'm complaining about this because this is, again, and name it, this is not okay, this is sexual harassment. Okay. Okay, نكمل؟
ايه بنكمل بعد معنا 10 minutes وحابين نسمع منك
يلا.
Okay.
يلا. Okay, so just quickly, so how to actually prevent حكينا عنه. So the way to prevent harassment within the workplace, it's really about laws and regulation. It's really about policies, anti-harassment policies. It's really about conducting training and awareness sessions around what is harassment. It's about educating around sexual harassment. It's about being responsive when things happen within the company, to actually act upon it. It goes beyond just you. It really impacts everyone. Okay, so it's your duty as well as the company's duty to really prevent all of these. So هو اللي حكينا عنهم. So in the last slide, قبل ما نحكي عن الأشياء الثانية, I'm going to talk about ways to actually protect yourself in public places. Okay, so again, you cannot detect the presence of perverts or creep in your surroundings. You really can't. Okay, but there are certain steps you can take to just protect yourself from, as much as possible, being physically touched. Something as simple as actually carrying a backpack. Okay, now when you have a big backpack, it really covers your back. It covers most of the time your bottom, so they're not able to actually target these areas. Okay, so it will kind of work as a barrier. Charlotte, if you are waiting in a space, in a public space, stand in a way where your back is to the wall, okay? And this way, again, you're less likely to be groped or touched, especially from the back. So if you go in an elevator, stand close to any of the three walls. If you are in the bus, stand close to the camera. Stay within the bus, a stop shelter, back to the wall. كل هالأمور هاي, stay in a strategic position. Charlotte tells you, use your arms as shield. And عن جد, أنا a lot of the time I just sit like this. So this is actually a way to defend yourself from any potential advantage. Okay. So this is something else that you can do. And this is something when so in the UK, محل ما أنا كنت لما كنت عم بدرس بالجامعة, I used to live in a small town. ما كان في أبدا catcalling. It was very safe. Walking at 3 a.m. was something I used to do often. But when I came back to Lebanon, لاحظت قد إيه في catcalling بلبنان وقد إيه بيزعج هذا الشيء. So I used to always have my earplugs وطي راسي وضلني ماشي. And I just wouldn't hear them. Okay, it just makes me completely disconnect from the outside world and therefore not really hear what's been saying. So that sometimes helps. And if you are walking at night, use any physical object for protection. So or have something between you and your harasser, a book, a mobile phone, your bag, put them in the front and hold it as well as as a way to kind of protect you. Charlotte, if you are feeling in any way stalked or there's someone that's making you feel uncomfortable, aim your camera at them. Your phone camera. And kind of show them until you are not intimidated to actually talk about what's happening to you and show evidence of what's happening to you. Okay, this is the last thing I wanted to share. I'm gonna stop sharing and then talk a little bit more about, did we want to talk about child sexual abuse, Sandra? Is that something?
I think you answered most of our questions. But the time left, بهمنا نرجع هيك to circle back to يعني أنا عندي two هيك two سؤالين. أول سؤال, most of the audience tonight يعني are women attending our discussion. How can we raise or how can we حتى لو نحن كبار as adults become more firm and stronger vis-a-vis harassment و abuse, إن كان صارت معنا وإن كان رح تصير معنا أو عم بتصير معنا, كيف فينا نقوى, كيف فينا نكون firm وهالboundaries نحطها مزبوط. إذا نحن اليوم دكتور رنا حتى بتربيتنا و in our culture we are not raised up as women who say no very firmly and who impose these barriers. So هيدا أول سؤال. آخر سؤال, what would you tell الناس يلي قطعوا any kind of abuse or harassment and tonight they're watching us, شو بيكون هيك, شو بتنصحيهم يعملوا starting tomorrow to be able to move on and to have a better quality of life?
Now we grew up in a society where we've been told أنا ممنوع أقول لا شخص in an authority figure, a religious figure, a relative of any form, عم خال عمي خالي تيتا جدو ستو الجار اللي I'm not allowed to be كمان. So anyone, I shouldn't be rude, I shouldn't be disrespectful. شو بيحكوا عنا العالم. So we've been always taught to look at others rather than our own safety and our own comfort. So what I want to say, you come first, no one else. Okay, your safety comes first, your comfort comes first, مش الآخرين. So you have to understand that actually saying no is a must. This is your tool, okay, and you should not be ashamed or feel guilty to actually set boundaries to anyone, even your husbands, if you're married, or boyfriend. Okay, you are allowed to say no. Marital rape is a fact. It's there. All right. ما في شيء اسمه مجبورة لأنه this is your role. Okay? No, you're not. So please, 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 let's just use these words that we can use and really kind of feel confident and comfortable to know that law is on our side. And even if, unfortunately, in some cases, maybe the law is not there to protect us, we still have the right to actually be firm about it and raise awareness around it and work with our kids a lot so that we can break that cycle. Okay? So أنا بعد اللي هلا بسمع من كثير أشخاص ساندرا ليه عم تقلي لا ممنوع تقلي لا لا شو حيقول لك لا the child is definitely allowed to say no. You can tell him I understand you're saying no but this is what we have at the moment. يعني إنه مثلا he's allowed to tell you no I don't want to go to sleep. Yes I know you don't want to go to sleep بس هلا this is your sleep time and you have to. But telling them no you're not allowed to say no لأنه I'm your mom or I'm your grandma or whatever is, that's how, no, they're allowed to. And this is where we start breaking the cycle.
That's so important. آخر شيء, what would you like to tell هيك الaudience يلي اليوم they've been through a traumatic event and
don't go through it alone. Please don't go through it alone. And seek help, seek support, build a community. You're not, and don't feel ashamed or guilty about any of this. It is not your fault in any way. That's all I can say. And please seek support.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rana. Thank you for هيك أول شيء being insistent on the it's not your fault. The message passed very clearly. Thank you also for giving us هيك the motivation and the confidence to say no. مثل ما قلتي يعني it's the laws on our side. حتى if it doesn't get, it's something wrong. We have to know that. And to remind us to, if we are parents also, to raise kids breaking the cycle and create a safe space for others to also confide in us and help them. Big thank you. If somebody would like your contact details, نحن كمان مستعدين to give them to you. انت اليوم حتى لو مانك موجودة بلبنان, you give remote sessions if needed. بيشتغلوا معك الناس online. Hopefully we'll see you in other sessions with us. عن جد.
Thank you everyone. Thank you for opening up. I really want to say big thanks to everyone who shared.
From the heart, يعني from the heart, عن جد, it's a difficult topic. People trusted you with their stories. So عن جد هيك on behalf of the community أنا بقول لك thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for all your work, Sandra and Sira. The work that Sira does, it's, you know, I've been a big support. No, I really believe in what you guys are doing and how important it is. So thank you.
It's a teamwork. Thank you. And you're part of the family. So thank you so much. Take care.
Have a lovely evening. Bye.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.